Hey guys, welcome back to another Viper Strategies video. Today I am going to AI. The reason why I did this is because I do like the idea and the concept behind the two-story corners that I ran and I built. I like that idea of having multiple tier levels to extend that progression and keep that overall bet amount pretty low. I decided to go with AI and have it build me some variations of that concept, but with different bets. So I'm going to go through, it gave me a bunch of different variations with different bets, but I wanted to try that concept with the streets. So let's just go into that and I'll explain what it gave to me. So right here, I named it high rise streets, but this essentially is playing that same concept, but I made a couple modifications. So this is what it suggested. This was based on the previous concept of the two corners. What it's telling me here is step one to start with 3 streets, and it shows win percentage, win probability for each of the bets as you cycle through, right? So then it goes 4 streets and it goes to a max of 8 streets. And at an 8 street coverage, you have a hit probability, a win probability of just under 65%, right? Well, this is what I found most interesting about this is the probability of winning somewhere within that cycle. So starting at a 3 street bet, cycling up to 8, you should hit, according to AI, almost 98% of the time. So the probability of busting all 6 steps, it's a little over 2%, which I thought was pretty crazy. So what I did is I went ahead and I built it. And now this was just based off the bets. It didn't give me any specific progression to follow. So I went ahead and built my own based on these numbers. So I'm not going to have another tier level. I'm going to keep it as 1 tier. So let's just go into that and I'll explain a little bit more on that before we jump into the test. Okay, so in the VSB where we build the strategies, I got high rise streets. Now, very basic, simple strategy with that same idea with the corners. So laddering is what we're doing with the steps. So you can see the ladder start level. Of course, we're starting at the first base level bet of 3 streets. You can see down here. And on a win, we're going to stay here. On a loss, we're going to add another street. And then from there, if we get a win, we peel back to the previous level. Okay. And then we're going to reset once we get a new session profit. So very basic, but I want to come down here and show you how I built this and why I built this. I did one extra thing. So it said 6 steps, right? I went ahead and put a 7th step in there. This is more just, for safety. Hopefully we don't need it. If those odds and statistics are correct according to AI, we should rarely or ever need to go to level 7. So let's just go through the steps before so you guys kind of understand how this progression works, and then we'll run a test on it. Again, this is fresh. This is the first time I'm running a test. If it runs well, I'm going to go ahead and run this on the other channel against the Roulette Royale app, and then we can start modifying it from there. So, of course, step 1, we did 3 streets. Now, the bet placement, I did this on purpose. I wanted more coverage across the board so one side doesn't hit, or when one side hits more and it starts streaking, it doesn't completely dismantle this strategy. So my bet placements, I wanted a 1 street in each of the dozens. That's the starting bet. Okay, so with that being said, step 2, we're going to add street by street. So step 2, I just added a street right here, and then step 3, now we got a total of 5 streets. I added another one in another dozen, and it simply goes up like that. Okay, so now at this level, at level 4, we're going to double our bet, right? We're just going to go up 1 unit. Now we're at a $2 bet, and step 5 comes in and we double again, right? So right now, total bet amount is 28. Step 6, this is where it recommended us stopping. Now, AI didn't give me a progression, so I came up with this progression. So instead of doubling again at this level, I simply went up $2 per bet. So now we're at a total bet of $6 a piece, and we have 8 streets down. Now the last one, because you can see right now we are at a $48 total bet once we get to this level. The reason why I went a little aggressive on the progression with this one is based on those statistics, those odds of us hitting within this cycle kind of gives me that idea of, hey man, it's probably going to hit more times than it doesn't, and the odds of it busting is very low. It's only at that 2%. So I went ahead and I added an extra step. So step 7 goes up to 10 apiece. This is our last bet. So if you cycle through all 7 levels, right? Let's say you start at level 1 and you cycle and you lose every single bet. That's going to be a total bankroll playing this way of $190. And that 90 of that 190 comes on that. This is kind of like a last ditch. I put this in more as like, okay, if we get to this level, let's get some of that money. Hopefully we could get a hit right here, because you could see with 9 street coverage, you only got the 0 that's going to hurt. And then you got what, 1, 2, 3. There's only 3 empty streets that could bust this strategy. And that's stopping here. I'm not going into another tier. I'm just stopping it right here. If you do not want to play with this 7th level, I thought about this too based on the analysis and the odds it gave me. Maybe if you just want to do the 8 streets and stop there, the total bankroll will be only $100 based on this build. Okay, based on my custom progression. So I just wanted to go over that. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the test. And I'm going to run it for 1,000 spins, and then we're going to go ahead and go over the results and see how well it did or how bad it did. And then we'll kind of analyze the data from there, and then we could from there make more modifications where we see it, right? We got to understand the behavior of these strategies before we actually use them in real play. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the test next, and let's run it through 1,000 spins and see how it performs. All right, so that's going to wrap up the test. Now, 1,000 spins I gave it, and it did survive not only just all 1,000 spins, but it only used minus $24 of the bankroll. We got a session high of $442, and the progression bust. That's something I kept track of, along with something else. I'll jump into the next screen and I'll cover more in detail so we can dissect this strategy and see if we can make this even better. But the progression bust, so it went to that seventh level that I added. It went there and busted 5 times, and then it reset. So there was a little bit of it teetering up, teetering down, but it ended up coming out with a profit per spin at 44 cents. Not huge because of those busts, but it did boil down that risk reward ratio. We made a total of $18.42. So I'm going to jump into this next screen. We're going to dissect it a little bit more and talk about how we can make this even better. Okay, so now I want to go in a little deeper and I want to dissect and see what's going on with this and how we can make this even better. One other thing that I kept track of how many times it actually hit that 7th level. That was that extra level that I added. And it hit that level a total of 16 times. 11 out of those 16 times it did win, and it went back to the previous level because we have it on that D'Alembert ladder. But it did lose those 5 times like I showed previously. Those were those 5 times that it busted. So it did cycle up into profit, but those busts severely dropped our profit gains. With that in mind, we can either choose to keep that 7th level in, or we could take that out. If we took that out, our profits would probably be a lot higher because that last bet was a total bet of 9 streets at $10 a piece. But those 5 busts cost us $90 each time they busted. So that's a total of $450 lost in profit right there just off those 5 busts. So just taking out that 7th level could be beneficial because most of the time it did, like the odds showed, it did stay within those 8 levels. Now, something very interesting. So looking at what I have up here, adding that 9th street bet, right? Extending it to 7 levels. That's a total coverage of 27 numbers. At that point, when you have your bet at that point, expected hit percentage is 72.97%. Now, looking at the probability of winning somewhere within that cycle of 7 spins, I crunched the numbers for that, slightly better than the 6 levels, and it's at 99.36%. The probability of missing and losing every single one of those steps is less than 1%. It's only at 0.64%. And just, I had a comparison between the levels. If you have it set at 6 or if you have it set at 7, of course, at the 6 levels, 97.6%, very good odds, but just extending one more level boosts it up to 99.4. So risk reduction is significant with this, but if you decide to roll out with the 7 levels, and let's say we want to do a 1-hit reset, because that's something I was thinking about, seeing that 99% of the time. And again, these are expected odds. It doesn't mean that it won't happen, but 99% of the time, you should get a hit within those 7 levels. Now, we did get hits within those 7 levels, but again, the progression doesn't to hit once and reset back into a session profit. And we have it running with ladder, so the bets don't get expensive. If we design this, I can definitely go in and design this with a custom progression where it will get you in profit based off of one single hit. And I'm thinking that may work out. That may actually be beneficial to build it that way. Because if you think about it, if I build it that way with the custom progression, those bet amounts are going to get very, very high. But looking at these numbers, it might be worth that risk. The other variation is to stay on the conservative side and then just build another step, another tier level to give it more progression levels to come back into profit. So anyways, let me know what you guys think, which way we should go with this. Overall, still very solid. I'm going to end up making a video after this. I'm going to post it on the other channel showing it against the Roulette Royale app. And the link for that will also be down in the description below. Also, before I wrap up the video, we are running a holiday special. We have 2 discount codes and the information will be down in the description below if you're interested. And yeah, that's going to wrap up today's video. And of course, guys, till next time, be cool, stay cool, peace.